Hello and welcome to a new video from Game Informer. I'm Ben Hansen and I'm joined by...
Jeffrey Smith.
And what's your position here, Jeffrey Smith?
Multiplayer design director.
And overall map genius.
I don't know about that.
What are we looking at here?
This map is called Raid. This actually started a long time ago. There used to be a bridge right here, and it was kind of desert themed. We were kind of messing around with some a different game mode that was much more linear, so I kind of laid out some geo just to kind of get the ball rolling and try to work out a space that kind of felt interesting and cool. I think kind of coming back to this setting of Modern Warfare, you can't really, I think a lot of map design recently in COD has been more symmetrical, and make the maps almost feel like more arena-based shooters. By going to Modern Warfare, we wanted to kind of keep that realism, and whenever you do symmetrical layouts, it really starts throwing people's brains off. I think humans can pick up patterns really easily, and so to make the space feel real, you kind of really have to hide those 3 lanes if that's what it ends up being. But for us, it's really important to have these kind of key buildings as kind of power positions.
There was a code name or a dev name for key buildings. I think you might have used it yesterday. Hero buildings or something like that?
Right. So yeah, we do call them hero buildings.
Okay.
I mean, if you think about how you art levels, there'll be buildings that get less attention than others. If one building has a game mode objective inside it, you want to spend a little bit more time on that. You want to gussy it up and make it more memorable, and it kind of anchors the map. So this building, there's a hard point inside. I don't know if I'll be able to even open this door in this mode. But,
there we go.
This building has this really sexy window that overlooks this very center of the map. And so the enemy at the gate can stand back here and snipe and control. This is a B bomb site. This bomb site is right here, and it becomes quite active. So you have that window there, and you also have this perch on this side. So both of these guys can't really see each other directly, but they can both provide support fire down into that little choke point.
Just zooming out a little bit, why did you want to show off Raid? When we asked you to do this feature, why this map?
I think this map kind of strikes a chord with me because it feels like something we would have made in Call of Duty 2. I think a lot of the recent map designs have I kind of like to say that we've taken the plastic wrap off Grandma's furniture. I feel like a lot of games will kind of clip off a lot of stuff, and not let you climb on things. And I feel like if I'm stuck at this choke point, I could run into the grinder and get killed, or try to post back up in the sniper position and play it from a long ways away, or I could try to find a different way to flank that position. So I climb up this stairway, I run across this little beam, I chuck some grenades down in there or jump in there if I have a shotgun. I could come down the building, take up a position and try to shoot enemies in the tire shop that are providing support down into that position. Jump down and flank the enemy.
It's such a messy design overall. I mean, I know there's so much logic to it, but just looking at the map in general, it's just like, was that the overall goal for the map? It's like, let's just make this thing look destroyed.
I think that when you have a suite of maps, I think you want to stand back and make sure that you have all the cast of characters. And so you want to make sure you have some small, CQB fast maps. But if you keep a nice rotation of maps, you want the larger maps to kind of give you a little bit of a breathing room. So even within the kind of map cycle, you're getting those, that ebb and flow. It's a nice play space of stuff.
And what does this
one
film?
We didn't have a kind of real urban Eastern Europe rubbly map. And I think a lot of times in Modern Warfare, you kind of have your different palettes of where in your brain these things happen. And so we just didn't have this character, and we didn't really have this kind of play style of It almost reminds me of some older games where you could just kind of get lost in the map and find your little living room that you like to hang out in, and that's your spot. You hear kind of people talk about their favorite maps, and they kind of have their favorite spots. Mm-hmm. And so this map has tried to create a lot of those favorite spots.
You want to make a bunch of little homes for people.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it just adds the kind of discovery of like, I didn't know I could climb on the scaffolding and get to the top of high rise, and then it just creates these talking points. So I jumped out that other window here before, but I could have jumped out this window, jumped across, laid down on this rooftop, and now I can lay fire onto that position.
That's sweet.
Or going back the other way, could climb up this stack of crates, jump across, and now this side is moving up on that position and go there, come back down, deal with the choke point of in that board that goes across. Instead of having to go down the choke point, I can run through this little hallway and bust out and try to take up a position here and take out those guys. So everything kind of works in this little kind of ecosystem of places.
Would you mind like zooming out and looking down at the map a little bit just to kind of get an aerial view?
Sure.
So you mentioned earlier like the 3-lane philosophy. Is that core to Call of Duty maps in your mind, or is that just every good shooter map should focus on having 3 lanes? That's just core gameplay.
I think it's kind of a mathematical kind of equation, right? I mean, I think that a lot of things divide in and out of 3s very easily, and so you get a lot more patterns coming out of that than 2 or 1 or 4. But so you could see the paved road is a lane, sure. Mm-hmm. You could say the middle alleyway is a lane. You could say the field, it's supposed to be a field. We have some. And then with the trench is another lane. But you also kind of want to dig into the negative spaces, and so that construction site is in the center of the map. What lane is that? Mm-hmm. It's kind of between lanes. And so kind of adding a bit more interesting bits in the center lets close quarters guys kind of stay centrally located. Steve loves to run around with his shotgun and clean up things in there.
And who's Steve?
Our producer, Steve, that helps us stay on track.
Say hi, Steve.
Hello.
But, you also want to, I think with you have 3s, you're kind of creating also different play spaces, like this is the field space is sniper's heaven here.
Yeah.
There's no real way up to the second floor, but I can climb up this tank, run along the barrel, climb into this little window, and now I'm presented with a few sniper positions up there, and so both of us can have our own little fight back here. Similar windows.
So you've made hundreds of multiplayer maps throughout your career? Do you have a number in mind?
I don't know. I think my wife counted it up a while back, and I think it was close to. I don't know. I made 19 while I was here, so. Upwards of that.
At Infinity Ward, the first time you were here?
Yes.
Okay.
I started making Counter-Strike maps and got into kind of that whole side of things. And if you find something, you can put in 10,000 hours. I think my wife again, figured out that I'm probably up at 30 or 40,000 hours. So,
so what are the big do's and don'ts for map design in your mind?
Big do's and don'ts. Know what game you're designing that level for. This kind of stuff probably wouldn't work for a different play style. Making stuff for advanced movement is much different than you would for boots on the ground stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's all a learning process. So the kind of principles that you hold for one, you have to kind of really know the metrics and what it is you're using. If you're using melee weapons, the layout's going to look way different than shooter weapons. And what is the ranges of those weapons? Are they power weapons? Are they automatic weapons? Everything will have this distance where you want to engage with people, and it's just engagements. I used to tell people when they asked me, like my mom or somebody would ask me, like, well, what is designing these levels or something? It's kind of like designing a mall. So you want to have those kind of like, you have those end stores, you have the connectors, you have the food court, you have the big clock that tells you the time, so your parents can pick you up and you can tell where it is.
That's the hero of the building there?
Yeah, you're kind of facilitating movement of a lot of people through a play space, and you're hoping that they'll run into each other at certain places. So it's very similar to that kind of architectural design, I think.
So once you retire from the video game industry, you can go into mall design and really nail it?
Man, I hope so.
What do you consider like the greatest map of all time for a first-person shooter?
I think everybody would have said Dust when I started, but now it's become Dust 2.
Yeah.
And in Call of Duty, I don't know, probably Nuketown, I guess.
Really? You think so?
People like different things. I think that close quarters, fast gratification situation. Maybe it was shipment for a while, but it's probably. I think COD fans would probably say Nuketown.
Yeah.
For certain reasons, I think different people are different, and everything I've made, some people like my stuff, some people like other people's stuff, or everybody likes different things.
Yeah. Can you show a closed door in this map here? I forget where the nearest one is.
Sure.
Because I want to talk about bullet penetration through doors. What's the team's philosophy this time around with that?
I mean, bullet penetration is through every surface, and a door is, we don't have our use prints, but yeah, you can open the door just regularly. You can, if you're in ADS and you press it, it'll just creak, and you can push it open. Or, since it's Call of Duty, you can just sprint right through. And when we first decided to put, doors in, at first we were just like, it'll be fun, let's mess around and try it. And then we did almost the first play test, and it was like, oh, geez, there's something there. Because Call of Duty is so fast-paced, having this kind of forced pause was really interesting.
So you can shoot through some doors in multiplayer then?
Yes.
Okay.
There's just normal bullet penetration. Some are metal, but they still have a penetrating amount.
And destructibility overall, how much is going to be in the game?
Destructibility, for us, we don't really have that much in destructibility. We rely on the bullet penetration to sell that type of stuff.
Sure.
Little things, small stuff pops off, little plants and potted plants, and we specifically kind of put potted plants on the windowsills you might shoot out of, just to create those kind of hard-boiled moments.
Yeah, for sure. Sweet. Anything else you want to show off with this map? Or any other fond memories of laying out the geo in the early days? Is that just like white box? Is that a napkin? What does that look like?
I mean, it depends on where inspiration hits, I guess. But yeah, you can, draw stuff out on paper and pencil and kind of get those things in. But I find that unless you really know what you're doing or you kind of have a good idea, it's just going to take iteration. So just get it in, start playing it, see where it starts falling down. And then systematically fix all the things that aren't playing well. But yeah, easier said than done.
That's sweet. Well, hey, thanks for showing this off, man. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks.